you just sitting in your bedroom, just sitting there, looking around, listening to some music. Then you look over to the window and you notice this door that's never been there before. You try and leave the room, but you can't. And you find that the only way out is this new door. You open it up, and it's an impossibly long hallway, and you see something creeping down the other end. Which is much easier than that. So, and this creature is just there, and then you realize that the only way out is through this monstrosity. The game is supposed to give you a sense of creeping dread, unheimlich, which is the normal becoming strange. And it brings forth the horror of this character's mind. It's how she views her neighbors. So each hallway represents one of these neighbors' aesthetics. Like a computer scientist has a very technological hallway. The core loop of the game, in design terms, of course, as we've described before, is searching for letters, things like that, trying to understand the people around you, and getting supplies to survive the maze. Those are the apartment loops. I'm just going to move through it quickly since we're kind of short in time, actually. The puzzle loop for the main game when you're in the maze is when you are finding audio cues and other pictures to help you find the correct path to the doors. So you'll be going through the maze, and there'll be a bunch of doors to choose from. Each door will have a picture next to it. So there's a story element. You read the story and you say, what picture goes with this story? And that's how you go forward. Each time you go through the maze, the doors will be randomized. And as I was saying, this is pretty much it. While also in these rooms, you'll find batteries and other clues, and other things to help survive the maze, which we'll kind of go into much more detail when actually doing the demo. For art, we went through a few inspirations like Life is Strange and Francis Bacon, which is down here. So we're going for a lot more brushstrokey look in the main maze. Here's our main character, and her punk aesthetic defines kind of the rest of the game. And here's our monster. You will see it a lot more closely. We have a bunch of characters and very much sunset aesthetic with safe zones, which is kind of the contrast in the game. So for our art, when you're in your bedroom, it's a sunset, it's warm colors, but when you're in the maze, it's dark, it's dreary, and it's not very well lit. And there is just something in the corner of your eye at all times. So we are talking about art for addition, and so here's a few examples of the rooms as they are going to be. And here's kind of Alex's short spiel.
Hello everyone, my name's Alex. I'm the programming lead for this team. So kind of looking back at what we've got from the previous semester, we obviously had a maze that was very modular. So each of the tiles are connected by a hallway, and then the way we kind of did this is we procedurally generate them every time we enter a new room. So in order to kind of accommodate with that, so you have like rooms with different sizes, but then you have to figure out how exactly you have to connect them. So we have hallways that teleport the player, and every time that you enter a hallway, you're randomly teleported to another room. Now for these folks, so for teleportation to kind of work, we have to use another camera to kind of create a window, so that way it preserves the illusion that you're entering into another room, when in reality you're actually teleporting. So move on. So as far as the monster goes, we had to change some things from the previous semester. So right now, initially, whenever the monster spawns, we have the monster so that it spawns every time the player picks the wrong door. And for the player flashlight, instead of trying to slow down the monster whenever you flash your light at them, we made it so that the monster has like a set hit point. So if you flash the light at them long enough, it will actually stop in your track and kind of give you a chance to kind of get away. But at the same time, we also had to improve the monster detection. So the monster is always attracted to sound, and we had to rig some of the objects so that whenever you throw an object and it makes a collision, it makes a sound that the monster will fall. And then finally, we have the monster with a search pattern for each room. So each of the room has a kind of set path that the monster will go through as a way to kind of control around in the maze. So and then for VR, we had a lot of feedback from our previous So we imported something that was called a VRTK, very useful. You should check it out on the asset store community. But from the VRTK, we had really good control that basically we can use your arms to actually move around. So it was very immersive, so it allowed us to kind of preserve how you walk around the space. We also had to revamp some hand controls. So for the doors itself, we made it so that you have to open it using a VR switch, and also for interactable objects, your controls will actually highlight whenever you touch them, indicating that you can interact with them. And then finally, for hiding mechanics, we made it so that we have to track the player's positions in terms of like height, and then basically kind of cross-reference it with the monster's line of sight.
Yeah.
So, hello everyone, I'm Hara, I'm the lead game producer for the team, and I'm going to talk about the team progress. So basically all the tasks are taking place in time, and the art team is catching up with all the new production, with all the milestones and everything, and we're working on shifting in the art style, that is to make the game really scary, which is the ultimate goal of the game. And this is the burn down chart. We had to make a few changes to that to make the dev tracker working, and basically the changes I've made is I changed the start date, so it was from the start of the semester. I had to change it to March, and then I did not change the end milestone date, which is 5th of May, 8th of May, and basically the graph is not completely shown here because the deadline is actually 8th of May, and another thing that we've done is we were initially going to make 2 mazes, which was supposed to be scary, but we moved down to making only 1 maze so that we could actually focus only on that, make it scary instead of having our focus divided on 2 mazes. And for QA testing, we got a few students down from USC, and we asked them to play the game, asked for their feedback, and they gave us some feedback like they had texture issues, like they couldn't understand the difference between the wall and the doors, which one opened and which was the wall. They had issues with the sounds because they couldn't recognize when the monster was actually coming towards them, and they couldn't move around. So we're trying to fix that. And another thing is all of this, and they loved the game. So yeah.
Okay, and now for the final section for the demo, we just kind of touched on this throughout the game, but our plans pretty much, we were planning at the beginning of the semester, so we didn't have as much motion controls and stuff like that. We planned, of course, to increase those, so the swaying arms, the interacting with objects. But we had 2 mazes, which we found that our artists we kind of wanted to really focus down on just making the first maze good and polished. So we kind of decided, let's not split our mind here and just stick to 1 maze, 1 apartment. We want to add a few more sound effects for the monster. So the monster has sound effects, but we want to kind of improve them. Right now they're just a bit too generic. And we want to complete, of course, a few more of the textures for the maze. So most of the objects all done, it's just making the textures good. Also just improve basic sound effects. Yeah, so plans for the future, that is kind of just what we're going over, improve the tutorial. So kind of, right now we have it a little bit spread out. We want to tighten those down and debug a few items. So it's just kind of getting the monster AI so it doesn't like lose track of the player at times. I mean, there's some certain situations which can get weird, and some portals can just cause a little bit of a jumping issue. So it doesn't happen always, but we want to find out why that happens every once in a while. And, just get the voice actor to finish all of the lines and test until it's good. And finally, we pretty much got into the demo stage, which I'll let Alex go through. So, he's behind you. So you can interact with objects, 2 of them at the same time, unless you're having flashlights. We're probably going to try and fix that and make the flashlight a little bit more interactable, because it's not really So when they're trying to open those drawers and things, a poster will appear before them, and it'll be kind of a punk aesthetic, and it'll say, you'll have the remote controls and say, okay, this is what you do. Is you use triggers and other objects that do that. Now here's where you find the first objects in the game, is like rocks and things, and batteries, which are very, very important to the player, because the batteries will run out on the flashlight, and if they run out, you don't really have a weapon against the monster. So, opening doors, which we've added. So, to make sure that the players kind of have something to do while moving between the rooms. Now here is where we have the old texturing, which is going to be added next week. Because we've got all the textures and it's just that we wanted to not mess with our implementation. We didn't want to find out, oh no, it slows down the frame rate. So that was pretty much testing that's going to happen with that. Also the halls, we were talking to Sinjin, and the new halls that we have, they're not very, he said they weren't very scary, so we're trying to make new ones right now. So that's why we have placeholders. And here I was talking about the stories that the character will find throughout the game. They read that and they look for a picture that matches that story. And maybe we can demo more of the, let's just say, monster mechanics by picking the wrong door would be a good way, but this is the correct door. So yeah, he's reading the story correctly, moving through. And now you move on to another section of the game. Now here's a good place that you can hide if you were to make a mistake. But, yeah. And of course he needs more batteries. Oh, I think you might have made too much sound. Yeah, we also found that people complained during the demos that they couldn't tell when the monster was coming for them. So we pretty much made a silhouette feature, and so you can see the sound attracting it. And so yeah, it's doing its search algorithm, so like it's supposed to, and it did not find him. Which we actually are very happy about, because it used to be that the monster always found the player, no matter what. So now we've pretty much figured out that small hiccup, and now the player can escape. Now, not much else to say about that, except for he's trying to find the end, which is different than it's been before. So let's see if he makes it. Yeah. And Alex is now panicking instead of hiding.
You do it, Alex.
I think it might have lot. But yeah. Oh, no, it's still coming. So yeah, when we the final phase I think for the monster is we're gonna add a bit of a blur effect. So it's going to make it less defined a silhouette. So while you know that there's something there, and you know that it's walking in a very odd way, yeah, so you can creep around them. But yeah. So let's see if Alex can actually remember the way through the maze. So the proper way to get through is you read the maze and you read the instructions and you will find the picture that matches. The problem is that that's randomized, so a player can't just memorize the correct path anymore. So. And Alex has managed to find the end. So yeah, that's right now the end of the tutorial. So.
All right. Nice. Okay, let's take some questions.
I will do that.
Question?
Yes.
the monster faster than you, or are you faster than it?
So there's two settings right now. It's pretty much if the monster sees you, it'll start getting a bit faster. Right now, we think the monster, we want it to keep it a little bit slower than you because you get stopped by doors a lot. And it does not have that problem. The door's open for it. So pretty much you want to, we wanted to keep the player just a tad bit faster even when the monster's sprinting so that they can't just keep, so they just don't get caught. Because that was the big problem originally was the monster would just kill everyone as soon as it arrived. And it would always, and hiding was a real problem. But now it's much more functional because the problem is if you keep running, even though you're faster than him, if you don't pick the right door, he will keep spawning up behind you. So like, if you keep picking the wrong door, he'll get closer and closer and closer, and then you're kind of dead.
I also have a really question. It's like, you said improving the sound effects for the monster.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, to me when I see the silhouette, it's kind of like horror is like the element of the unknown.
Yeah.
But even with the blurring, you kind of know where it is.
Yeah.
So I think like that kind of takes away, like if you make it more in the sound design noticeable that where it is instead of being able to see it.
So you think that the problem is that so far we've noticed is from this distance, yeah, it's true. But inside VR, people freak out a bit more. And we wanted to make sure that, especially since we're demoing with a lot without sound and trying to teach people, that was the intention was like, okay, let's give them this option. But if you turn on hard difficulty, you can turn off the silhouette. So we have the option. So if you feel like, oh, this is too easy, I'm not being scared, then you can turn that off and just be killed just as soon as you turn around one time. But of course, you'll hear it coming. But so it does words, it speaks words, it has footsteps and things like that. It's kind of hard to hear from this distance. You couldn't even hear the background music, which there was. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, fantastic. Nice demo.